Chapter 4. Spirit Refinement. Everyone looked at Bai Shoshun with delight, realizing that this junior disciple wasn't just cute on the outside, but also had quite a few mischievous ideas. Thus, Zhang Daban stepped forward on behalf of the others and rewarded Bai Shoshun with a spirit grain, placing it into his hand. Bai Shoshun smiled joyfully, his spirits soaring. By the time he returned to his room, he hadn't even made it to the bed when all the heavenly treasures and spiritual items began to take effect, making his head spin and his vision blur. He collapsed to the ground, snoring loudly. After a refreshing sleep, he opened his eyes the next morning, feeling invigorated. Looking down, he saw a layer of black slime covering his body and hurriedly ran to take a bath. The disciples who were busy preparing breakfast for the sect students all smiled upon seeing him. Ninth junior brother, all that dirt is just waste expelled from your body. Discarding it will make your cultivation much smoother. We haven't needed you these past few days. You can start training in a few days. The spirit grain is a precious item. Eat it soon. Don't leave it for too long. Bai Shochu nodded happily. Back in his room, he noticed the tortoise-shaped cauldron and decisively took it outside to clean it, then returned and placed it on the stove. Holding the spirit grain in his hand, barely the size of his pinky, he admired its shiny surface and pleasant fragrance. Indeed, the food of immortals is extraordinary, Bai Shaochun said with awe, then gathered some wood to start a fire. The moment the flames ignited, a wave of intense heat hit his face, making it burn. He stepped back, muttering to himself about the strange nature of this stove. This fire, isn't normal lit, burns not only quickly but also much hotter than village fires. He inspected the logs in the stove carefully. At that moment, the flames flared up, and Bai Shaochun gasped in astonishment. The primary vein pattern on the tortoise-shaped cauldron suddenly glowed brilliantly. After a brief moment of shock, he slapped his thigh. I told you, this must be a treasure. This cauldron is far better than senior brother's. The more he examined it, the more he felt the cauldron was extraordinary. He quickly dropped the spirit grain into it. He sat down to wait. While waiting, Bai Shaochun took out the Purple Key Sovereign Furnace Manual and began to follow the breathing and cultivation exercises recorded in it. As he started, he realized that the postures that had been difficult yesterday were now smooth and effortless. The breathing techniques no longer felt obstructed, but instead comfortable. Previously, he could only manage 3 or 4 cycles at most. Now he went through 7 or 8 without feeling any strain. Suppressing his excitement, he continued until he reached 30 breaths, at which point his body began to feel a dull ache. Suddenly, a cold energy appeared within his body, moving rapidly along his channels. Although it dissipated before completing a full circuit, it still made Bai Shaochun leap in excitement. There's energy? Haha, there's energy. He rejoiced, pacing around the room, thinking of all the heavenly treasures and spiritual items he had eaten the night before. He regretted having eaten so little. No wonder senior brother Zheng says, it's better to starve in the kitchen than compete with the outer sect. This is a rare opportunity for an outer disciple. Saying this, he resumed cultivation. Following the breathing techniques and first-level postures of the Purple Key Sovereign Furnace Manual, he managed 60 breaths this time, generating twice the energy within his meridians. The energy coursed continuously through his body, with experience from before. Bai Shochun examined the first chart carefully, tracing the pathways within his body. The energy flowed along the routes he had visualized, and he discovered small amounts of cold energy appearing in some areas, merging with the flowing energy to grow stronger. Eventually, the energy formed a small stream, completing a full circuit. His entire body trembled, and a booming sound echoed in his head. A novel, gentle sensation filled his body as the slime continued to secrete from his pores. The energy stream persisted, slowly circulating throughout him. Bai Shaochun opened his eyes, his gaze sharper and his body feeling much lighter. The energy channels indicate I've completed the first level of the Purple Key Sovereign Furnace Manual. That means I've reached the initial condensation stage. Overcome with joy, he ran to take another bath. The disciples preparing breakfast for Zhang Daban smiled at him. Seeing Bai Shaochun reach the first level so quickly left them surprised but not entirely puzzled. Back in his room, he took several deep breaths and carefully observed his manual. After completing the first level of the Purple Key Sovereign Furnace Manual, one can manipulate small objects. This must be the immortal's ability to influence objects from a distance. His eyes lit up. Following the techniques in the manual, he formed a simple hand seal and pointed at the nearby table. He felt the energy stream from his body shoot out like a wild horse, forming an invisible thread that touched the table. Unfortunately, it trembled and disintegrated upon contact. Bai Shaochun's face paled slightly, but he quickly recovered. He took a wooden sword from his bag litter than the table and pointed at it. The sword trembled and slowly lifted, but only rose an inch before falling. Undeterred, Bai Shaochun tried again, more excited than before. The sword rose higher. 10 inches, 20, 30. By sunset, the wooden sword could float steadily in midair, moving slowly but no longer falling. From now on, I, Bai Shaochun, am an immortal. He stood proudly, left hand behind his back, right hand gesturing forward as the wooden sword hovered before him. When the energy in his body became unstable, he recalled the sword. About to continue cultivating, he smelled a fragrance wafting from the cauldron. He looked up and inhaled deeply, having forgotten the spirit grain he had placed inside while focusing all day on cultivation. He opened the cauldron, releasing a strong aroma. Strangely, a silvery pattern appeared on the spirit grain, initially dazzling and startling, but gradually turning a calm silver. Bai Shaochun squinted and observed carefully. "This pattern looks familiar," he murmured, glancing at the stove, which was now extinguished. The wood inside was burned to ashes, and the cauldron's patterns had dulled. He suddenly realized the patterns on the spirit grain and the cauldron were identical. Setting aside his doubts for safety, Bai Shaochun didn't eat the spirit grain, but placed it in a cloth pouch. After a moment of thought, he went to observe Zhang Diban and the others at work. Half a month passed. During this time, Bai Shaochun's cultivation progressed slowly, but he noticed that when others cooked spirit grains, no patterns appeared. He realized this spirit grain was unusual, and the cauldron even more so. After a few days, following Black Third's trip to purchase supplies, he visited the Four Seas Hall and learned that outer disciples could also travel to certain locations. Leaving the Four Seas Hall, Bai Shaochun was overjoyed. Back in his room, he carefully observed the silvery patterns on the spirit grain in disbelief. An immortal's cultivation requires 3 essential methods: alchemy, energy, refinement, and spirit refinement. Recalling descriptions from the classics he had read at the Four Seas Hall and comparing them to the patterns on the spirit grain, he saw the similarity. Spirit refinement. He finally breathed out after a long pause. Spirit refinement is a special method that forces the energy of heaven and earth into an item, strengthening it. Whether a pill, incense, or treasure, it is difficult due to heaven and earth's resistance. Failure can destroy the item. Success greatly enhances its power. Repeated refinement increases the effect, but the chance of success decreases with each attempt. Some masters dare not risk it, as failure can be catastrophic. The classics say that the ultimate treasure of our Lingay sect is a fated item, the Heavenly Insight Sword, refined 10 times. Recalling this, Bai Shaochun felt his throat dry and swallowed nervously, eyes dazed. He looked at the now dim veins on the tortoise-shaped cauldron, heart pounding. He was certain now. The spirit grain's patterns appeared because of this extraordinary cauldron. After hesitation, Bai Shaochun gritted his teeth. Without knowing the cause, he couldn't rest. Now aware of the cauldron's power, the secret could not be revealed to anyone else. Late at night, he carefully approached the cauldron, taking the wooden sword and tossing it inside.